Hello everyone, Derek Johnson with Tatango.com. I'm here with TCPA attorney Ernesto Mendieta, and we're answering questions from the interwebs. So let's first get started. One of the biggest questions, especially because it's coming to the 2018, the end of 2018, is what is the outlook for TCPA, Telephone Consumer Protection Act, litigation for 2019? And you're really the best person to ask, so because you're a TCPA attorney. So what has been going on and what do you think is going to go on in 2019?
Exactly. So if we're going to talk about what's going to happen in 2019, of course, we're going to do a little guessing, but we can have reasonable expectations seeing what's the trend, right?
Yep.
What's been happening, and we can see what we believe is going to happen in 2019. So first, with the TCPA being one of the most litigated matters in the US in federal courts, well, we can see a trend actually happening in 2018 that comes from comparing it to 2017,
okay.
and there's a decline in the number of claims that have been filed. So,
and these are like lawsuits, right?
Yes.
TCPA lawsuits
we're talking
against
about
people sending text messages.
We're talking about TCPA lawsuits initiated for unsolicited calls, unsolicited text messages, right?
Okay.
For TCPA violations.
Okay.
We're seeing, comparing how 2018 is going to 2017, we see a 15% decrease on the number of claims.
Okay, that's good, because wasn't it, we did videos a year or two ago, wasn't it the last like 10 years it's just been skyrocketing up?
Yes. This trend is relevant because we can see it in the year 2017-2019, so it's a new trend coming down. But this is considering public statistics. This doesn't mean necessarily that all claims are declining. What it means, and what is an explanation of this decline, is that there's a lot of companies that now are becoming aware and are getting afraid of the amount of damages that the TCPA claims involve, right?
Okay.
So a lot of companies are being proactive in preventing those claims, meaning...
So you think that's what's reducing the amount of TCPA lawsuits is the brands are more aware that there are, litigators out there, there are, consumers that, feel they've been harmed from text messaging. So they're more aware of the rules and the laws.
Correct. I would give two main reasons. One is this one we're talking about, companies being proactive and acting to prevent those claims. They work with TCPA attorneys to draft their terms and conditions. Their marketing campaigns are done in cooperation with an attorney, and that obviously reduces the amount of claims or the risk that they have. But the second part of the second main reason, which even means that the claims are actually not declining, but statistics or public statistics show us that there's a decline, is that while these companies are acting to prevent TCPA claims, they have also been including arbitration clauses in their terms and conditions and in their contracts. So what happens if they put an arbitration clause that refers specifically to TCPA claims? Then when that company gets sued, it goes directly to arbitration instead to a public court.
Okay, so that 15% decrease, those lawsuits that are being counted don't include the arbitrations.
Correct.
So it's been moved from like lawsuits to arbitration, some of that.
Some of that can explain this 15 decrease because arbitration can remain confidential. So even though there's a claim, we will never hear about it, and it will not be shown in public statistics because the company settled it or get to an award in arbitration, but it didn't become public. The company is safe about bad publicity. They got a resolution. The claimant got maybe what they were asking, and they fought it in the shadows.
And this is because an increase of brands realizing that they should have an arbitration clause in their terms and conditions for their text message marketing.
Correct.
So they're not only are they realizing the rules and everything, they're also putting things in their terms and conditions which can keep them out of court.
Correct.
Okay, so, and I don't know if you know this, but is the last 10 years, it's always been going up, lawsuits. So this is the first year that it's gone down.
And especially it's been going way up in complaints to the FCC, to the Attorney General, like the complaints that the consumers make about them has been going up for the last 10 years, as you say. Lawsuits, this is a trend that we're looking right now in 2019, and this can be an explanation for that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that claims are going down. It's just how those claims are being resolved, right? Are they being resolved at court or are they being resolved at arbitration?
That makes sense. And from our perspective in the text message marketing world, it's not like text message marketing, is going down. the amount of text messages or MMS messages that people are sending, brands are sending, is going significantly up every year. So, you can't attribute the 15% decrease to just a lack of text messaging. It's going up just as fast as everything else. So really that's an interesting statistic, and it's really the first, decrease in the last 10 years.
Yes, correct. But let's just keep in mind that the decrease is using public statistics of lawsuits, right? Yeah. Going to court. So
that the arbitration stuff has kind of muddy the waters a little bit because it's private.
Yeah, and you could never think that professional plaintiffs are going away. As you say, if text messaging is increasing, professional plaintiffs are going to keep increasing too.
And over the last 10 years, it's significantly gone up. There was only a handful of TCPA lawsuits way back in the day when we started. Now it's a monster amount. So even decreasing 15% is not like they're 5 lawsuits now or 15% less. We're thousands of lawsuits.
We're talking about thousands of lawsuits a year.
So 15%, it's a good little trend line, but that doesn't put everybody off the hook, being like, oh, you don't need to worry about TCPA anymore.
Correct. Yes, okay. I think this statistic, more than saying, oh, it's getting better for companies, means as long as the companies get better by themselves in preparing for TCPA, results in benefits, in clear and direct benefits to them. So it's important for them to be aware of it and act upon it.
So what do you see? It's October, November right now, 2018. Ending the year, and then 2019, what do you see happening?
Regarding the matters of the claims that are actually being submitted, I think what's going to happen is we're going to continue seeing these cases regarding what's the definition of the ATDS, what's a reasonable revocation of consent, what's the definition of cold party, all these issues and aspects that are waiting for the FCC to act. Okay. Remember, from the DC Circuit's opinion in ACA International, there were several issues that the DC Circuit ordered the FCC basically to readdress them, give some clarity to the industry, and we're waiting for that. So until the FCC does that, we're going to continue seeing claims asking, well, what's an ATDS, right? What's the capacity of an equipment that makes an ATDS? And the problem now is that, and I think we're going to continue seeing in 2019, is that there's judges that are having different interpretations. Since there's no guidelines issued yet by the FCC, one court will say one thing, the other one will say the contrary thing, and it's hard for companies to keep up with those different interpretations.
Because the FCC is the one that they drafted the TCPA, or they managed the TCPA kind of.
Yeah, right? The TCPA is the law itself issued by Congress, but the FCC is the one who enforces it and the one who has issued regulations to interpret it and to make it clearer for companies.
So I know a lot of companies and SMS companies and brands, they've gone out to the FCC and they've asked for clarification on certain things. And what you're saying is the FCC has not yet given clarification, so there's still a lot of kind of unknowns which create lawsuits, or how does that impact 2019 if there's just a bunch of unknowns for brands?
They do create lawsuits, because if a company cannot be sure if the equipment they're using qualifies as an ATDS or not, and then they get sued, they're going to say like, wait, I thought this was not an ATDS, and I don't have a clear guidance by the agency, the FCC, of what is and what is not, then I'm going to go to a judge and ask him.
So you have to go to the judge, and then they have to figure it out because the FCC hasn't figured it out yet.
Yeah, and professional plaintiffs can take advantage of it. Like they can see those equipment or those facts that are in the gray area that are not so clear, and they can take advantage of it and say like, well, I have a shot at it, right? It's not clear now. Yeah. I'm gonna sue. I'm gonna try to get, I don't know how many millions of dollars.
So that's how they're kind of, you could even see TCPA litigation increasing until the FCC clarifies things, because they're going to look at the gray areas, these TCPA attorneys on the other side, and representing consumers, and they're going to say there's an opportunity here, because nothing has been kind of set in stone, there's a chance that a certain judge, would rule one way or the other. But once the FCC comes in and says, no, it's black and white, then do you see the TCPA litigation decreasing once there's more kind of clarification?
I hope so, but we're going to see the next step of the litigation process, right? It's gonna once we have a guideline, then everybody that was not complying with that specific guideline is going to say like, well, I have all these companies that didn't do it. I'm going to go through them. Okay, we have 50% that was complying to this new standard, but everybody under the standard, I'm going to go after them, right?
So it's really important to be following what the FCC is saying and making sure that, you know, your SMS campaign, you know, depending on kind of what your TCPA attorney is advising, but kind of going the way that most likely the FCC is going to rule on these things.
Yeah, concerning these areas that are kind of gray areas, I think a good approach to take is be conservative, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Why push the limit?
That's what we do at Tatango, is always play the conservative. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, and that's good practice at the end.
It's $500 to $1,500 per text message that violates the rules. So if you're sending 1 million text messages at once, that's 1 million times 500 or 1,500. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in damages. Mm-hmm. It's something just not worth, you know, follow the rules.
Yeah, follow the rules as they are now. Be aware of what's happening with the FCC. Whenever something new comes up, follow those new rules. So it's important to keep track of developments and also to stay in contact with a TCPA attorney.
I always recommend that. The SMS providers are great, but we build great technology. The TCPA attorneys, you guys are following this every single day, and it's changing all the time. It's not just the FCC, it's the circuit judges, right? You know, in different areas. It's always changing.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to know for the outlook for 2019 for the TCPA?
I don't think so. I would, just like I said, I would recommend, if you want to know what's going to happen in 2019, is watch this video so you have expectations, but also keep watching the news, keep watching everything that's happening. That's the only way you're actually going to know.
Yeah, and I really don't think a brand can do it themselves. Like, and these videos are great as an explanation and kind of making people aware, but we always recommend employing and hiring a TCPA attorney, because these guys, you live and breathe TCPA. You're not out doing divorces or, you know, other things, right? This is
just TCPA.
Just TCPA. Like, you can't match that kind of knowledge that these guys have. So awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Derek.
Yeah. And again, my name is Derek Johnson with Tatango.com, and I've been talking to TCPA attorney Ernesto Mendieta, and this is another TCPA Ask video.